The reason that singletons are formidable is because they themselves are a way to have loosely coupled code. They are, in a way, dependency injection themselves. And if you're not familiar with what a singleton is a class which can, with only one, can exist in the entire scene in our case. So if you want stuff to happen, then if you're like, well, just talk to the singleton, right? Don't talk to me, talk to the singleton, and then from the singleton we can do business. So structure is similar, same as before. Let's see what's happening in here. Let's open up the singleton folder. We see we've got two classes, banana caller. Open that up, and banana listener. So this is the singleton. If you haven't seen the singleton before, this is kind of the I mean, there are better ways of even structuring the singletons, but this will do for now in this description. Singleton consists of a static instance of the class, of itself, really. And then it also has an ability to exist with only one of them existing in the scene. So in here, in this awake method, first thing that this script does firing off, it checks, is this instance of banana listener null? Does this not exist yet? Oh, it doesn't. Great. I am now the singleton. If it does, destroy myself. And then all of this is the same. Toggle image. Let's see what caller is doing. Caller is going and it's getting an instance of the singleton. And in the start method, it is defining this as the instance of this singleton, as this static instance. Only one of them can be there. And so you press space, and this is true, right? This is a this is a pretty flexible system. You won't break by renaming things, deleting things. It will be there. Even if you delete the listener completely, it'll work. So, one thing here. So let's take a second to also talk about static objects. You have you can separate the coupling of objects by having C# events and delegates. So essentially, events carrying the payload of an anonymous function. This will work. And there are some, like Prime31 and other, very well-respected developers that use this thing in their asset store packages. And this is, I think, is a great example of using it in third-party tools, is to not integrate a third-party framework into your own tools. But if you have an opportunity to use DI in your project, definitely take that approach. Did my best not to use DI, and each time I've regretted it. So I'm an evangelist of the thing, but I think as you do not have to be you do not have to be devout in order to use it. You will just have to be convinced that that is the best way to go. So that says singletons and static events and delegates. So this is, this is just a terrible method. It is just exposed references in the inspector. So so they knew this canvas system. It was created by Aaron Mook, who used to who developed NGUI. Unity asked Aaron Mook to develop the new GUI system for Unity, and this is what we now know as UGUI. Now, when he was developing, he created this this system to just drag and drop events, these like actions, essentially when something will happen, like such as a button press. And I remember he released a video tutorial that says like, hey, this is now in here. Never use this for production, but it's great for prototyping, especially if you don't code. Somehow that like some sort of like medieval word that transformed itself over centuries and now means something completely different because that's now mainstream. You've got provenance out the window. These classes are just getting exposed in buttons. Stuff happens. You've got no idea. It's not even in the code. So absolutely terrible. Just awful. In this case, this is exactly what's happening. You might have seen this before. I mean, I've unfortunately seen this too many times. So here it is, banana collar. You should probably serialize classes, but people just put public. Bad for encapsulation, but that's for another topic. And then notice this is not defined anywhere. And this update. It press space and then it expects that this object is present and turns on banana. It's like a logical fallacy, a loaded statement. And then stuff here, stuff happens. This class is completely innocent. Doesn't subscribe to anything, and it just expects some other external class will fire off this event. Of course, it works now. I press play. Press spacebar, it works great. If I take this, and if I forget the script is there, maybe the missing prefab, immediately we start running into errors. So these are the ways of how people typically develop and couple connections within Unity. So now this is probably a meta question that comes to mind. Is this talk itself tightly coupled? Well, maybe. If you already know this, then you could have skipped this and then moved on to finally the great part. We're going to start looking over methods on how we can make bananas appear on our screen using dependency injection.